Good morning. Thank you for having me here today. My name is Harbur, and I'm honored to be here to share with you my story and the company that we keep. And although I was only asked a few days ago to step in, I've thought a lot about this concept of community over my time here and throughout my life. So I'm really happy to be able to share with you what community means to me, and as well as how we can actively create more of it moving forward together. So I would like to start with a short story. When I was only a little over a year old, my family was informed of some unexpected news upon the birth of my brother Luke. He was diagnosed with a rare liver disease called biliary atresia, a condition that severely affects liver and bile duct functioning. And this is not a hereditary condition. And that if he did not receive a liver transplant within the next year, that he would not make it. My parents would lose their son. I would lose my only brother. And so my brother was put on the waiting list to receive a liver at 5 months old. And if you're not familiar with this list, this organ recipient process, you're listed with a status depending on your age, health condition, previous health conditions, as well as the more basic variable of how long you've been waiting. And some seem to get the organs right away, but some can wait and wait and wait. And this process, I'm sure, almost feels like a lottery to some, where you just never know, the next day could be it or not. And some go without even ever receiving. So I can only imagine the feelings that my family were going through at the time. I was very young. The availability of organs was much lower at the time. And on top of that, if my brother were okayed for the procedure and found a liver, he would only be the second one to receive it in the area. And the first kid did not make it through the procedure. So the odds were stacked against us, but there was nothing we could do, just hope and wait. Be positive. So six months passed by with these feelings, and until that time, my family was waiting, but then came upon some promising news. My parents came upon the opportunity to meet a family whose son had just passed on a camping trip due to an asthma attack in the Lake of the Ozarks, and he was only about 10 years old. But it just so happened that this boy's liver was perfect for my brother. And because the family agreed to directly donate, my brother was able to go off the organ recipient list. And he was going to get a liver transplant at the age of 11 months old. So I'm happy to share with you today that my brother is a sophomore at Ithaca College in New York, studying journalism and web programming. He's a passionate beatboxer and runs an evening club to help students as well as people in the community boost their confidence and skill of performance through beatboxing. And he's happy and healthy and grateful to be alive, and he lives that out every day. So why do I share this story with you? I share this story because none of this good news would have been possible without the community that surrounded us throughout this experience. And with both of my parents being self-employed and having to work full-time to pay off health insurance bills, my brother and I were put into the loving hands of our community. For a majority of the week, we were watched over by close friends, family members, neighbors. Some of our community helped us with preparing food so we could eat well, and some just came to watch us at night so my parents could get a good night's sleep. Whatever the case may have been, our community was there to support our family in a time of great need. And we wouldn't have been able to endure the hardships without those people in our life. Now, this story may detail how I have personally experienced community in my life. But what kind of role does community have for us right here and now? Outside of all the personalized anecdotes of life that we share with each other, outside of the stories and the personalized accounts of how we feel about community. After all, community is something that we strive for, but it can't be manufactured. Community forms around ideas and stories naturally. And I know for me sometimes it feels like I leave communities running into other communities, searching for that sense of belonging and connection on a daily basis, almost like a game. But what about that part in between where we find that connection? What about all those people with intricate stories passing us every day with no words, without any understanding of what they're going through? So I've thought long and hard about this topic, and the more I think about it, the more I reflect on my personal experience of it, the more I have a hint that we are focusing on the wrong thing. We have community, but what is that underlying fundamental quality that supports the possibility for all communities to grow? The fertile soil that supports the growth of a beautiful garden. What I believe that we need to focus our attention on here is culture. When I think of community and the way it has personally impacted me, I think of genuine interaction, care, and concern for one's neighbor, and meaningful, curious conversations. So how can we create these types of interactions and feelings on a daily basis? In my view, right now, by simply being here in the same room together, genuinely sharing each other's presence, we are creating culture. Each interaction may have had this morning is a type of creation of culture. The interplay of our beliefs and interactions create this reaction of sorts to form new ideas, and hopefully someone in here that's a newcomer will leave with an inspiring message to share with their friends and family going forward. And I think this is a cool way to look at culture as a spreading mechanism and as a powerful influence on people. But the real question and test is, how do we bring this idea and put it into the action? This idea of changing culture. When creating a garden, the first step is to make sure that the soil is properly prepared for the seeds to be planted. In other words, our culture must be oriented to support the growth and connection of the diverse interactions and communities that we encounter on a daily basis and in our networks. As ambassador for cultural change, how do we go out there and prepare the world for some beautiful exchanges? If we are here to act today, as we leave this gathering and go out into the world, I believe that the best course of action is to reorient ourselves. Now, if you read the program, you be aware that I have been practicing Buddhism for the past couple of years now, and I've had the fortunate opportunity to have a mentor in my spiritual development. And one phrase that sticks very close to my heart is one that he's given to me called Ichigo Ichie. It's Japanese. It means one chance, one lifetime. And the view on this is that each interaction we have is essentially unrepeatable. We can gather the same people in the same room, but still not have the same feeling for that meeting. There are different thoughts, different emotions at play depending on where people are when they enter the room, and ultimately we can't replicate the same experience again. So if we take this consideration as we are out there on the world that is seemingly hostile, maybe we can start to extend our kindness in situations that are uncomfortable or to people that leave us with an unsettling feeling. In this sense, we can start becoming actively engaged in creating that kind of interaction we like to have with our communities. That kind of interaction that I mentioned in my story with the community that surrounded me and my family. It is my view, especially at this time more than ever, that action will be one of the most important attributes for this kind of positive social change. So, what have I said here today? I've said a lot. I've told you a story, ultimately wanting to bring us out to realize we all have different stories, community forms around these stories and ideas. But that ultimately community is something we need right here and right now, especially with problems as big as climate change facing us as a collective species. We need to come together and work with each other more than ever. And I believe that we are going to be able to do that one step at a time, with each beautiful exchange as we become active proponents of the global community that we'd like to create moving forward. As I said before, Ichigo, Ichie, one chance, one lifetime. Let's go out there and create the community that we want to see in the world.